Carolyn Dean live radio show featuring Dr. Carolyn Dean. Join Dr. Dean for the next 2 hours along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty. Join Dr. Dean as she shares with us her vast range of experience, knowledge, talent, and wisdom. Phone lines are now open, and we'll be taking your calls from around the world and here in the USA.
Welcome everyone to Dr. Carolyn Dean live here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting humankind with universal love. And what I like to say is uniting humankind with our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean. Yes, this is Ginny Sanders, co-host for the show tonight. And if you can just tell by my radiance, by my ebullience, by my joy, I'm so excited once again to talk to Dr. Carolyn Dean. You know, I do it every week, but it just thrills me to my core because she always has so much to say. Vast wisdom. And of course, yes, she's a medical doctor and a very good one. Then she's a naturopath. One of the very few, first in her whole line of peers that actually became an ND and her MD. She's an herbalist. She's an acupuncturist. She is a snappy dresser and a fun kind of dancer. And she cuts her own hair. These are all things that you just can't even imagine come out of the fount of one woman, but it does. And then on top of that, she has her very own best-selling book, The Magnesium Miracle, a profound author. I mean, a writer that just, I mean, she never does stop writing. It's just amazing how many books she's written, and she continues to write and revise as she learns the newest technologies and the newest information coming out about what's happening at the forefront of medicine, what's preoccupying people's minds. And we're going to be talking about that tonight. Insulin resistance. It's a big topic, and it's preoccupying a lot of people's minds because they're finding out that the core of a lot of their medical issues are something. It's we're not going to call it negative words or anything like, you know, silent killer or something like that, but it's a big deal. And Carolyn Dean can tell us all about it. So before I bring her in, I just want you to know you're in the best hands or hearing that you could possibly be hearing tonight, or anytime you're listening to this show through our archives. We're so glad you're with us on YouTube. Be sure to share this with a friend and let them know Dr. Dean is speaking tonight. She will take your phone calls more toward the second hour, and you'll be able to call in using the number that we've got in our emails and here on the screen at the radio station and also on YouTube. You will be able to chat with us through our chat mechanisms, and you'll hear lots of great conversations as well as very important health information. Without further ado, let me also say, not a medical advice show. We can't do that. But Dr. Dean will definitely tell you what she would do if she were in your shoes. And she's been in them quite a few times because she has a body just like you. And she's been on this planet just like you. And she has to do the same things you have to do in order to maintain her health, vitality, and well-being. But with her as our example, we know we can absolutely not go wrong because she is the fountain of youth and amazingness. And so we say, welcome. Oh, wait, where are the children? Lord, I got so excited. I almost forgot about them. Where are the children? My goodness. Okay, now I say welcome our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Thank you, Ginny. Thank you, children. It's wonderful to be eulogized, but I don't believe a word of it. But I am a snappy dresser, and I do cut my own hair. It's true. That I can attest to. Actually, Ginny and I were just talking today about the magnesium T-shirts that it was Pam Wheeler, actually, one of our former customer service people. Pam Wheeler and I designed the heart with the MG in it for our magnesium T-shirts. I suppose maybe in 10 years we'll get around to doing the RNA reset line of clothing, but not today. Not today. Save that for another day. Right, Ginny?
Yes, yes, we shall be saving that. That's right. That's
Right.
right.
So insulin resistance, we'll get right to it. And actually, I might be going for about 45 minutes, and then at the quarter to the next hour, uh, who's coming on to visit with us, Ginny?
Our most wonderful Lorraine Andrus, who's at True Health Canada, our distributor, finally up in Canada, finally is going to update our Canadian audience and all interested parties on who, what, when, and how to get a hold of her and what she's doing up there that's fun and exciting in terms of getting Remag out to the public in Canada in voluminous quantities and amounts, all with the right label on it and everything.
The French label, and the finally had nothing to do with us or with Lorraine. It's all about the bureaucracy, folks. They really put us through our hoops. I was giving up. Let's be done with it. But Ginny wouldn't give up. She says, "You're a Canadian first and foremost, blah, blah, blah." So Ginny forged ahead. Seriously, there were so many hoops. I don't even want to think about it. So instead of thinking about that, we'll go to insulin resistance, causes and control. Now, people who are listening, you probably got the email showing you the blog that Ginny put out, and also the amazing graphic that Brian found. What is insulin resistance? And if you follow the graphic, I'll go through the steps. You can go to the website drcarolyndeanlive.com, and it's right on the first page. You can double click on or just click on the graphic, what is insulin resistance? And it's pretty straightforward. In the upper right is chronic carb consumption. Buddy there eating his hamburger and drinking his soda and eating French fries. And that puts the blood glucose up. And then it goes around a circle to where the pancreas has to secrete more and more insulin to deal with all those carbohydrates. And because you can't force more glucose into the cell than it will hold, the cells start to shut down the insulin push. Insulin kind of opens the door for glucose. So the door just shuts, and insulin can't open the door, glucose can't get in. And over time, the cells just start starving. The blood sugar is high, and that's where you start getting a diagnosis of prediabetes and then diabetes. And the cells are starving. They can't produce enough energy in the mitochondria through the Krebs cycle. And the Krebs cycle makes our energy, and it requires magnesium to do that. That's a sidebar. And all the way along, more insulin is produced. Finally, the insulin is depleted itself. And when doctors get a hold of the situation, they give drugs to force more insulin production, and even give insulin injections, whereas the cells are blocked. They're resistant. And all that is causing inflammation in the body, pain, irritation. And they say the last little image here is increased carb cravings. I think that's probably from yeast overgrowth from all the sugar in the blood. So that's insulin resistance. Now let's go through the words of the blog, because this is the type of thing that you have to send to everybody you know who's eating a dessert every day. When I was a kid, it was a dessert once a week, and that's what got me getting a paper road and having odd jobs so I can afford to indulge my sugar habit. So it's people who are eating sugar that are getting into trouble. That's all there is to it. what is the solution? We do have to cut back on the sugar. And actually, what I'll say right at the outset, Ginny and I are meeting with Carol Baggerly of Grassroots Health because I'm thinking we really have to um, get in front of this problem, and we're going to see if Carol can get us an insulin test because it's too late by the time your hemoglobin A1C is rising or your fasting glucose is elevated more often than not. We want to know what your insulin is doing. And when your insulin starts becoming elevated, then you're on the road to a problem. And hopefully, when people know that, then they'll take action. I'll take action. If my insulin turns out to be elevated, I'll probably cut back on my berries and whipping cream. What else am I eating? Oh yeah, Hawaiian fruits. So it's information that we need in order to take responsibility for our health. So insulin resistance. Turns out 1 in 3 Americans, including 50% of those over 60, have a silent blood sugar problem known as insulin resistance, increasing the risk for prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, and also heart attack, strokes, Alzheimer's, and cancer. Insulin resistance occurs when cells, any cell in the body, we've got listed here muscles, body fat, and liver, but it's also brain. All cells in the body resist or ignore the signal that the hormone insulin is trying to send, which is opening up receptor sites on cell membranes to allow the influx of glucose, the cell source of fuel. Cells that no longer respond to the advances of insulin and refuse the entry of glucose are called insulin resistant. And like I said, blood glucose rises, the body produces more and more insulin to no avail. And then the insulin and the elevated glucose start causing damage. And also wasting of magnesium, an increased risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes. How do you know if you're insulin resistant? Well, you don't. And that's why I want to start looking at doing the insulin blood testing. And the Grassroots Health, as most of you know who've listened to the show, they allow us home testing kit where you just do a finger prick and put blood on a cardboard circle, and that's tested in the lab. Initially, insulin resistance presents no problems, and it can go on for years. A book I'm reading, I just happened to be reading this. Ginny and I do share a brain. She came up with this topic, but oh yeah, she said when she took a survey, it was probably on one of our radio shows of what people wanted to learn about, and they said insulin resistance. And so the book I'm reading, it says you can find out about your insulin levels being elevated 20 years before you develop blood sugar problems. Okay. Why don't allopathic doctors find out your insulin levels on routine blood testing, since it can surely help to give you the heads up about developing diabetes and allow you to take preventive measures? It's likely because doctors are really terrible at prevention. They have never been trained in preventive medicine. They would rather a person develop a disease and treat it with a drug than prevent it. And that's because they don't know anything about diet. They think it's, the dietitian's work. And if you don't refer to a dietitian, then a patient never gets any help there. And also, they never learned about nutrients. It's like what nutrients are involved with this insulin resistance. And I'll get to that. But there's something very out of kilter about allopathic medicine, where it will allow a condition to develop over 10 to 20 years and not let their patients know about it in order to prevent it. And until we get the grassroots health test, you can order your own insulin test online. We've been referring people to requestatest.com, requestatest.com. They use two labs now. One is $49 for the test, the other is $59. And the symptoms of insulin resistance only start to appear once it leads to secondary effects with the higher blood sugar levels and getting into prediabetes and diabetes with lethargy, hunger, difficulty concentrating, weight gain around the middle, the belly fat, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, frequent urination, and excessive thirst. One of the major reasons cells don't respond to insulin is lack of magnesium. In a 2013 study, researchers looked at 52,000 people with a known history of diabetes to see how magnesium affected blood sugar. What they discovered was simple. A higher intake of magnesium resulted in lower fasting blood sugar and lower fasting insulin levels. Studies also confirm that when insulin is released from the pancreas, magnesium in the cell normally responds and opens the cell to allow entry of glucose. But in the case of magnesium deficiency combined with insulin resistance, the normal mechanisms just don't work. However, the higher the levels of magnesium in the body, the greater the sensitivity of the cells to insulin, and the higher the possibility of reversing the problem. So, there's part of your answer. We also know that various other minerals like chromium and zinc are very important for blood sugar control. We have those minerals in our Remite. There's 12 minerals there. We kind of emphasize it in terms of the hormones, especially thyroid. But if you look at our Remite Recalcia booklet, it's a free download at drcarolyndeanlive.com. You can go through the 12 minerals in Remite and see what functions they perform through the whole body. So the blog goes on to talking about magnesium and the Krebs cycle, magnesium allowing insulin to usher glucose into the cells. If magnesium is deficient, the doorway into the cells does not open to glucose, resulting in the following events. Glucose levels become elevated, glucose is stored as fat and leads to obesity or overweight, and then obesity. Elevated glucose leads to diabetes. Obesity puts a strain on the heart. Excess glucose becomes attached to certain proteins that become glycated, leading to kidney damage, neuropathy, blindness, and other diabetic complications. Insulin-resistant cells don't allow magnesium into the cells. And further magnesium deficiency leads to hypertension, and magnesium deficiency leads to cholesterol buildup. And both these conditions are implicated in heart disease. If you talk to most any doctor, they're going to tell you to get some exercise and take metformin. That's supposedly a diabetic drug. If you talk to me, we're going to give you other solutions. And it does involve exercise, of course. When you move your muscles, the muscles don't even need insulin in order to uptake glucose. So that's what makes exercise so important for blood sugar control. Of course, we're going to advise you take the Remag and the Remite. In terms of blood sugar balance, if you want to get your diet in hand, you would do our restructure as well. If you're overweight and there's a certain amount of toxicity that goes with being overweight because your fat cells will store toxins, then that means realign is going to be very important. in terms of a diet, when you have a high-fat diet, fat does not stimulate insulin. It's sugars and carbs that stimulate the most insulin and can get you into trouble with overstimulation of insulin. Protein, not so much, but they still stimulate insulin. Protein can go into something called gluconeogenesis and you can make sugars from protein. So, the thing that I've wrote about in my weight loss book was about the keto diet and intermittent fasting. That's probably one of the best ways to really get your insulin and blood sugar and your weight under control is intermittent fasting. And studies do show that intermittent fasting will lower the levels of insulin. So that's the blog, but here's some notes that I wrote on a book that I've been reviewing, and the book's name is Why We Get Sick: The Hidden Epidemic of Insulin Resistance. So what that book talks about, and it's like most books on the market now. It thinks that it's got the answer, the answer to everything. This author says that everything in terms of chronic disease is caused by insulin resistance. And I got the book because our very own Dr. Jason Fung, who's the kidney specialist, he's been on the show. He gives his dialysis patients magnesium. He's written a number of books about diabetes and obesity. He's very big on the keto diet, fasting, and intermittent fasting. So he forwarded the book. So I thought, okay, this will be cool. But when you take something like insulin resistance, which seems down the road, it's before serious disease like diabetes if you catch it in time, but it's still missing the groundwork of what causes insulin resistance, which of course I think is related to mineral deficiencies and probably yeast overgrowth as well. So we've got insulin resistance being associated with all the conditions that I think are related to magnesium deficiency. So insulin resistance is not causing these problems. It's associated with these problems. It's a chicken or egg. Unfortunately, medicine waits until the disease is fully established before it'll do anything. Whereas what we try to do is give the cells their basic building blocks so they're healthy enough and they don't develop these problems. We do work against ourselves, however, with our diets, and who doesn't love what am I eating lately? Cherimoyas. Have you heard of cherimoyas? They're the most delicious fruit ever. And it's hard to avoid. But as I said, if I get my insulin test back and it's high, I'm going to have a cherimoya every 3 days instead of every day. So what more did I kind of reinforce reading this book? Low magnesium is a sign of diabetes, period. And I doubt if anybody on this call or listening in the future who has pre-diabetes or diabetes has ever been told that. And it's in all the medical diagnostic books. Okay, so with insulin resistance, they talk about, well, high blood pressure is related. Well, is that because the blood vessels are being affected by low magnesium? They tighten up because There's not enough magnesium in the smooth muscles of the blood vessel walls. And here's something a little complex maybe, but it's about the salt and water retention type of blood pressure. Apparently, insulin increases blood pressure through its actions on the hormone aldosterone. Aldosterone is released from the adrenal glands, and it tells the kidneys to hold on to sodium and reabsorb it into the blood so that it's not lost in the urine. So the kidneys get a signal that there's not enough salt in the body and sends out a signal to the adrenals. Aldosterone grabs the salt and keeps it in the body. Okay, so what do I say about that? I say that's because people are too low in salt. That's why I get everybody to drink sea salted water so that your body doesn't get frantic about trying to grab all the sodium it can. And what does medicine do when it sees higher levels of aldosterone? It gives more drugs. So we're constantly working against ourselves because, again, the more aldosterone, the more sodium retention and water retention, and the more water in the blood, the higher the blood pressure. And as I said in the beginning, insulin naturally increases aldosterone. So just by having a high carb diet and having elevated insulin, you're going to increase your aldosterone and increase your sodium. And if you have sea salt in your water, your body's going to say, "Well, I have enough. I have enough sodium. I'm fine." But the bottom line still is to cut back on sugars. In terms of fasting and intermittent fasting and what the body requires, here's something that was mentioned in the book. A morbidly obese man began experimenting with fasting and found it very beneficial. So, under medical supervision, ensuring proper hydration and mineral consumption, he fasted for 382 days. Now that's incredible to me, but the major points there are ensuring proper hydration, and that's what I talk about all day and every day, and proper mineral consumption. And that's what we're doing with our Remag and Remite and Pico Potassium, especially. So that was very important to hear that. And certainly when I fast for a couple of days, I take all my nutrients. And what the body's looking for when it eats food is calories for energy. But if you have a lot of fat stores, your body's going to break down the fat for the energy. So the body needs calories and vitamins and minerals to run metabolic functions. And that's what we're providing at the cellular level. What else did I find in the book? Obesity is caused by diabetes in half of cases. So which comes first, the diabetes or the obesity? Taking magnesium improves insulin resistance. One of the first things I do when I see a new book or get a new book is I look at how much they talk about magnesium. And in this book, there was the one study that said 450 milligrams of magnesium reduced the blood sugar and reduced the insulin. Now, why didn't the author recognize that as probably an underlying cause of insulin resistance? Unfortunately, it's the mentality of allopathic medicine where the disease is created, but they just, want to treat the symptoms of the disease. Now we got a blog question here. Carol is saying, I learned that I've been insulin resistant and have other issues of blood levels for about 15 years or more without my knowledge or my doctors helping me with it. I'm now 57, weighing 220 pounds, and even doing a clean meat and veggies diet, I cannot lose weight. I'm also postmenopause. I've tried apple cider vinegar, carnivore eating, also eating only 1 or 2 meals a day for over a year without losing anything. What can someone do to reverse this? Thanks. Well, I think it's got to do with the nutrients. When the body's under stress, and certainly, aggravation like Carol's going through is very stressful. And I think when people get some proper nutrients that helps them to relax, then that can certainly help with any condition, including weight loss. When you're under stress, the message in the primitive brain is that I'm going to starve. The famine is coming, because that's the worst stress in the primitive brain. So they'll hold on to fat. They'll create more fat. Stress, cortisol will create belly fat. So the number one treatment is to de-stress. And people will say that, oh, meditate, relax, walk, whatever, and that's all fine, but I really think remag, magnesium saturation, is going to help physically relax the muscles enough that you don't feel the constant tension and the headaches and the insomnia. You have to be able to get proper sleep. Magnesium is going to help with that. So that's where you start with the remag. In terms of diet, knowing that if fats and proteins are the way to go, you also have to be very careful with your fiber. I've been trying to say that, just about every week now, that we're not getting enough fiber in these high protein, high fat diets. So that can just be psyllium seed powder, a tablespoon or 2 a day. So for Carol, it's to begin with the remag. Take heart that it's possible to undo some of the stress that's been happening. I don't know what else is going on with Carol. She may have the total body meltdown that we talk about, which certainly the total body reset bundle helps people with. So, but we'll start with the remag, and Carol can get on with customer service and discuss all our total body reset bundle. The RNA reset drops are especially important. They help a person kind of detach from being so wound up in a problem. Detachment is very important. We got a question from someone who, I think it was about the blog Ginny sent out, but it looks like it's a gentleman who says, I've seen some of your shows on YouTube and have been listening to you. Placed an order for Remag through Amazon. Soon I hope to start on it and feel better. I do not take many allopathic medications. However, 3 days ago, I was not feeling well, so I went to the hospital and I found out that my blood sugar is off the chart. It was 20. Now, that sounds like a European measure. So, 20, it's probably going to be around 250, 300. And along with that, my blood pressure was up as well, 200 over 130. I know blood pressure is a symptom and not a disease, but I was prescribed Macardis and amlodipine. I don't know if that's the right spelling, to control my blood pressure, and metformin to control my blood sugar. Along with, I also have elevated triglycerides. 6 months ago, I checked my blood sugar level, it was 5.3. But for the last 5 months, I've been eating. Now, listen to this, poor guy. So maybe his 20 is a hemoglobin A1C, and he was 5.3 5 months ago. He's been eating daily cakes and ice cream as dessert during lunch and a thick sugary milkshake in the night after a walk. I believe this has elevated my blood sugar levels to such a high level. My question is if the magnesium miracle will also help to reduce the blood sugar level and reduce my triglycerides, or should I take any supplement to help in reducing blood sugar? I've heard about berberine, et cetera, or should I just stick with magnesium? So I've already mentioned that, yes, magnesium remag is important, but also remite, restructure for the diet and realign and RNA reset drops. I mean, that's sort of our protocol, but you see what happens, even in a few short months, the blood sugar can become elevated. And it's not that the blood sugar and insulin are causing blood pressure. I think that's more related to magnesium being drained. And I think that was it. There are a couple of mailbag questions I have to answer directly. So, Ginny, come back to me and tell me what I've left out or if there are any chat line questions.
Okay, wonderful. I want to just repeat the name of the book that you were talking about, if you wouldn't mind. I believe it's Why We Get Sick, right?
Why We Get Sick, yeah.
And
Why We Get Sick, The Hidden Epidemic of Insulin Resistance. And it's a great read. It's got a lot of good information, but you always have to have the underlying knowledge that he's not talking about magnesium deficiency or even yeast overgrowth that are going to cause these problems.
Very good. Now, presumably, I'm just saying, if you eliminate one thing about eliminating carbs, and I was thinking about the other gal's question about how do I get this weight off, is if you eliminate carbs, like in the ketogenic diet, that's one way to drop insulin resistance. But as we found out recently, if you eliminate dairy, that's another source of sugar. And the keto diet does not advocate for dropping dairy at all. So,
right.
That's one thing as far as being yeast overgrowth oriented too, right, Carolyn? You've really got to do an elimination diet to see what else might be going on there. Do you agree?
Yes, exactly, because dairy is milk sugar, lactose. So it is treated like a sugar in the body. It does have protein, but it also has sugar. So the protein is the casein and the lactose is the sugar. So yes, that and the keto people, I mean, I got into a lot of dairy. I'm thinking I'm going to have to go on a dairy fast and see what happens. And that's what you do. You eliminate sugar, glutens, and dairy, and see what that does for balancing how you feel and your blood sugar. I mean, a lot of people they have their own little glucose sticks at home that they can use to check their blood sugar.
Our wonderful producer here, Rachel, was mentioning to me before we got on the phone that she was told to cut back on carbs, and then she did, but then she had too much protein and it was acting as a sugar in her blood. Is that what you were talking about, Carolyn? It kind of whipped by me, and is that
yes.
that? Okay.
That's gluco, which is glucose, neo, which is new, genesis, which is making. So by a process of gluconeogenesis, protein can turn into carbohydrates. Isn't that interesting?
It's fascinating because that's what happened to her. So she actually had to cut back on protein and then boost up carbohydrates so that her blood sugar would come down. So
Wow.
it just goes to show you that when you are working with these kinds of situations, you really have to work with your body, as Carolyn always says. And, you have to pay attention to what your results are, because there's just not one cookie cutter response to everything, except we all know every single day beyond, no exception, everybody must have remag on the face of the earth. I mean, that's understood.
Right.
There's no
Right.
exception to that. But after that, it's a while.
Right. But then there's fat too, just for Rachel. Keep with the 20 grams of carbs, but make the rest fat, and then protein, smaller amount of protein. And the fats, that can be your avocados and olives and nuts and seeds. There's a lot of fat sources that people can use.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, the coconut oil and stuff like that. And I have been experimenting with all kinds of things I didn't think I probably would, but to get the fat count up, putting coconut in coffee or ghee or something like that, and working through that process. So you've got to do whatever you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's very fun. And then the other thing is, as far as I know, in the beginning, when a lot of people were doing keto and we were helping with that, we have definitely encouraged people to take the remag, but also we didn't have pico potassium at the time, but I think potassium's a big issue for people who are working with this too, right?
Right, right. And with the keto diet and not eating many carbs, you're not getting the potassium that you're supposed to get with potatoes and all those rich vegetables. And that's a big problem for people. And we didn't do the pico potassium product for a long while because of the FDA regulations, but we overcame that, and people are having such benefits with potassium. I think everybody needs a couple of teaspoons of potassium. I don't know the final amount. I don't like to overdo it. We get people to go to the chronometer.com app and put in their diet and put in I guess you just click on potassium to find out how much potassium is in your diet. And if you're not getting the 4,700 milligrams, which is a whole teaspoon of potassium, then you add the pico potassium. And actually, here's a very interesting pico potassium testimonial, and it'll take us right up to our Lorraine time. This gentleman says, I've had such great experience with pico potassium that I wanted to write to everyone to let them know of my experience. First off, I've taken a prescription for potassium for the past 4 years. I have potassium wasting due to an adrenal gland tumor. I've been prescribed up to 60 milli equivalents of potassium daily. That's 1,500 milligrams of potassium chloride 3 times a day, which is roughly a total of 2,340 milligrams of elemental potassium daily. For anyone who needs to take that much potassium, I can almost guarantee they're going to have gastric upset with a prescription-based potassium. My prescription also contains artificial sweeteners and colors to make it more palatable, except these additives can also add to additional gastric upset. With the introduction of Remag, my potassium requirements seemed to diminish. After adding Remite, I noticed again I didn't require as much potassium. Now I'm able to just add 3 teaspoons daily of pico potassium to my liquid to keep my hypokalemia at bay, whereas my prescription would say I should take 5.5 teaspoons. So I can vouch for the fact that, as Dr. Dean has suggested, pico potassium is roughly 2 times as effective as any other forms of potassium. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool, Jenny?
Yes, I was just trying to, I saw Lorraine came in. Yes, it is very cool. That's an amazing testimonial. It really is, because
Yeah.
when you have that kind of a situation, I remember one of our very best and first customers many, many years ago who was living on magnesium IVs 2 times a week because of his health condition.
Mhm.
And he had to drive into Boston to get it done. He was in Boston, he had to drive in downtown, headache after headache. And then, to actually sit there and do it, and then to come back, and then it's all gone. He's got to do it again. And it was a very unique situation. And when he got the Remag, and he could actually not have to go get his transfusions, he got him down to 1 a week, and then he didn't have to go at all because Remag was holding in his system, and he eliminated so much expense and just the stress of feeling like you can't satisfy your body. I mean, it was incredible. So we're so fortunate to be able to bring this to people who have these unique challenges.
Right. Now, let me just finish this. I don't want to keep Lorraine waiting, but David continues. He says, however, I want to point out that if people consume too much potassium at one sitting, they may notice their blood sugar levels drop. So this is why we tell people to sip their minerals throughout the day. Don't just, take shots of your minerals. Now, I don't know if that's just David's experience or if that will happen with everybody, or if that's another way to get your blood sugar under control is getting enough potassium. So that was interesting. And I just wanted to finish up with that. So thank you, David, for that information. And we will go to Lorraine. Ginny.
Yes. Okay. Let's take Lorraine off mute here. I'm sending you a blue button to your screen, Lorraine. Did you see your blue button?
There we go.
There she is.
I'm here. Oh my goodness.
Welcome. Wow.
Oh,
Good.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Oh, I get to talk to Jeannie and Carolyn at the same time and everybody else.
Very good.
Well, for those who are just joining us, Lorraine, and I have to say our audience grows every single day, and we have such a great new group of people that are watching through YouTube, our live broadcast through YouTube, and here on the new radio station. All of our new listeners may not know that this is the one, the only Lorraine Andrus from True Health Canada, who is a wonderful health practitioner in her own right. And she has many, many years of experience following Dr. Dean and adapting her protocols. And one day she called and said, what would you think about if I became the distributor for your products in Canada? And we were so excited to think about it. And then the fun began. We finally got it done. Lorraine has been a guest on the show before. She's an expert in the blood type diet and other kinds of things and live microscopy, and she's just incredible. And now we've got Remag in Canada. So welcome. And what's on your mind?
Well, thank you so much, Jenny. You always give such great intros. What's on my mind? I was enjoying listening to Carolyn. I actually want to hear her talk more. Yeah, she's always a wealth of information. I can never hear enough. So, it's funny. We have one of our new brochures that we're sending out with our orders. We have today our first sale that we are putting out. So if I can announce it now, we have 15% off all week for the whole week for both sizes of the Remag in the 16 and the 8-ounce size bottles. So we're really thrilled. And I'm just looking at our nice flyer and it says start low and slow. And those words have so much meaning because it's like our whole, how many years now we've had to start low and slow.
Oh gosh, we made that happen. But before we go any further, give out your website. I went to truehealth.ca and it didn't come up. What is the URL?
Well, we had to just make a couple of changes there. So if people go to our old site, the shop site, that's not a big problem because there's a link there with just the intro and I believe your picture is still up there with the Remag. And So if they click on that, it's going to take them to the new site, which is reset.truehealthcanada.ca.
Oh,
reset.truehealthcanada.ca. So I'll type it in too so I can see it. Reset, R-E-S-E-T dot truehealthcanada.ca. Did you find it, Carolyn? We're both typing away. Oh, wow!
You've got it.
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I
Oh.
found it.
And you should have
Oh,
all the sale posted and that should be rolling.
Oh.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
We've been cloned. We've been cloned, Ginny.
we have been.
Oh,
Oh.
beautiful.
That is wonderful. So, Lorraine, let's just also tell our wonderful Canadian audience and everybody who's listening through the archives throughout the week as we get deluged from our all of our Canadian fellows that right now, just for this right hot second, it's Remag only at True Health Canada, and the other products will still have to come from the States until we get them all approved. But you know, once you get the first horse in the barn, all the rest go in, right, Lorraine?
Absolutely. We are just waiting. And we know it's not going to take long, but we do know Health Canada works at their pace. We're right on track. I'm very positive, and the customers have been amazing up here. They're just as patient, and we're just going to make do. We have lots of work, all the new people coming on board. They're learning to start with the Remag, and amazingly enough, they still have work to do getting enough healthy water and mineral salts and the Remag. So we've got still a lot of little details to iron out. I think by the time we get people to their saturation levels with the Remag, with adequate healthy water, and we're juggling a little bit on their diet. So whether they follow the blood type diet or not, that's not, they can do what works best for them. But the diet and lifestyle is so important. And we all know the crisis that we have out there with our fruits and vegetables, and making good, healthy choices, reading labels. So I do help a lot of people on a regular basis, just understanding the labels on even medications. So I actually have a new addition to any of the personal nutritional consultations is there. It's appearing that the doctors aren't explaining perhaps if there are contradictions or some of the side effects. So just helping people understand, dealing with those. And it's so wonderful to see that when they pick up the water and the magnesium, a lot of those side effects do go by the wayside, and we just focus on rebuilding that foundation. So we've got some great stories already.
Wow, that's wonderful. And you do you put the sea salt in the water as well, Lorraine?
We do. We pretty much have the same, but we're following the same protocol that you are as well. In our clinic up here, we have a sacred sea salt blend, and it's really amazing. They actually have 4 different salts from around the world, and people don't realize we have these little sample packages, and if they ask for them, I'm happy to send them out for whatever supply we have here. And they have the black salts, which come from Hawaii. They have the pink salts. The crystal salts are from the Pacific Ocean. The rose salts are from the Andes Mountains in Peru. These are all, it's a nice blend. They're unprocessed, unrefined. They're very high in natural minerals. They taste amazing. So whatever it takes, we've got a few people that I have to get a little bit inventive. My first choice is if they put a pinch in their water and let them get a little bit accustomed to that new flavor, that new taste.
Mm-hmm.
Give the body a chance, and they actually start craving. And if they skip a day or two, then their body is saying, I'm missing that. Let's go back, and the body wants it.
Yeah.
Then we start
Wonderful.
with a few drops of the remag.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. That's wonderful. And what's interesting about Lorraine's practice is that, I don't know about under the quarantine, but you get to see your patients, your clients, and you get to, really be there with them. I kind of miss that, not being in a clinic situation, but you get to see it in their eyes. You get to see their skin changing. That must be really, not important, but it's just encouraging for you and for them to get that immediate feedback.
Well, it is, you're right. But not everybody has that opportunity because they're right across Canada.
Mm.
So the ones that do travel in, I do. We have had to make some adjustments here in the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So not everybody even wants to come in, even if they are local. So we accommodate, we can do online, like Zoom meetings as well. But we did have a change with the COVID rules. We were kind of in a transition period for the live blood. And I'll tell you, that is where if I was to put one drop, this is just a capillary poke similar to a diabetic, they're testing their blood sugars. But by displaying a sample on a slide and under the microscope, what is really amazing is when the people see their very own blood. So I'm only just interpreting the results, but the before and after, when they become hydrated. So I'm showing them what they look like when they're dehydrated and what it does to the red blood cells, and when they're mineral deficient. So my projection, my screen makes one red blood cell a little bit larger than the size of a golf ball. And it is really fun because the people can witness the results of their own choices.
Mm-hmm.
And when we start on this path of just getting the basic nutrients back in order in the proper ratios and suited to them, the whole integrity of that red blood cell, the membrane, they go from ghost cells because they can be weak and thin, and they literally start to fade out, and hence the name ghost cells. But when they have their hydration levels adequate and the electrolytes balanced and the magnesium and then the other minerals, of course, that follow, then we've got uniformed, nice, round, symmetrical, evenly symmetrical shaped red blood cells floating in the plasma, and they just light up. And they see the effects of their own efforts, and it's an amazing way to track progress. So
Right.
it's, that part is beyond what words can really explain, because the pictures tell 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's fantastic. Lorraine, hang out with us for just a minute while we go cross over the top of the hour into the next segment, and we'll see if any questions from our audience for you before, and you're welcome to stay, of course. We love having you around. So, but let's just do this real quick station break, everybody. This is Dr. Carolyn Dean live here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, and we'll be right back with our guest, Lorraine, and all of your calls and emails.
be back with Hour 2 of the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with host Ginny Sanders, right after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com. That's drcarolyndean.com.
Did you know there are 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency? Magnesium deficiency is a public health crisis growing in scope and proportion. Dr. Carolyn Dean, author of The Magnesium Miracle, has identified over 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency, 100 factors that lead to magnesium deficiency, and 24 reasons why magnesium deficiency occurs. Order The Magnesium Miracle today at Amazon.com and learn how to remedy this pervasive condition.
Do you have questions about your health? Are you wondering about alternatives? Do you ever wish you could have 5 minutes with a doctor you can trust? Someone who is an internationally recognized authority in the field of natural medicine? Meet award-winning doctor, naturopath, and best-selling author of The Magnesium Miracle, Carolyn Dean, MD, ND. Hear a wealth of information designed to empower listeners and callers to discover how to improve health, vitality, and well-being through a variety of safe strategies and nutritional options. Dr. Carolyn Dean Live. Shows can be heard every Monday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern, with weekly live shows, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Natural health, vitality, and well-being. Yes, everyone wants it, but not everyone is sure how to achieve it. Dr. Carolyn Dean's Completement Formulas are more than just dietary supplements. They're whole foods and picometer minerals designed to complete your nutrition, not just supplement it. Experience the difference Dr. Dean's formulas make. Visit RNAreset.com to learn more. That's RNARESET.com.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. With more than 40 years at the forefront of holistic studies, Omega is known the world over as a trusted source for integrated approaches to personal growth and social change. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org or call 877-944-2002. Again, 877-944-2002.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Return now to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders. Phone lines are open during live broadcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, Dr. Carolyn Dean live here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. I'm Ginny Sanders, your co-host for this next hour. And on the show with us tonight, we have our very good and most wonderful, most blessed Lorraine Andrus from True Health Canada, talking about her new distributorship and opportunities to get Remag countrywide in Canada, in country. in God's country, I guess we could call it, for the very first time in ever. And Lorraine's fortitude also in that situation, very much appreciated. She and her husband, Rich, have a great experience up in Kelowna, BC, where they're shipping the products from, but they're going all across Canada. And we're just so thrilled to have that opportunity. We have so many great Canadian customers who have paid so many prices to be in relationship with us over the years. And this is going to definitely provide them relief, especially as we're able to add the other products. And then, of course, our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean, the Canadian herself, and the most precious and important one to all the great country of Canada, and her contribution to complementary and alternative medicine in the country of Canada needs to be recognized. I'm making that my personal mission, as you'll hear about more as the year unfolds. This is the year to do it, but we welcome you both back and say hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Lorraine, we've got a lot of people on the call tonight who actually love the blood type diet. A couple people who are doing it. The type Bs, you know, they're always very enthusiastic about everything. And also others. And of course, Carolyn's quite an expert in it. What do you have as far as an update on blood typing diet that you might want to share just across the board? And then we'll let you go if you don't have to hang on forever.
The largest thing perhaps at this time that I'm sharing with people for the blood type diet is across the board. I'm seeing everybody is quite reactive, and not always immediately. Some is a slow growing imbalance of all the chemicals and the non-foods out there. So there may be a few better choices for each blood type, but when generally speaking, we're still trying to more or less have that ratio of 1 fruit to 5 vegetables. It's the quality that we're seeing across the board that is becoming deficient. So depending on the location where people are, I do encourage them to shop local, find their farmers markets, or even find the farmers themselves. And I hope to in the near future is bring on a gal here who can teach a little bit of horticulture and even growing plants in pots. Like even if you have just a patio or just a very small backyard, it really is amazing how little effort it takes to grow a little bit of lettuce and a few radishes, just enough to supply your family, but at least they're fresh and they're GMO free, and all the pesticides are really nasty. They're doing a lot of nasty things inside the body, and we can't always see that, or we can't always feel that, but I have that opportunity to see what goes on the inside when I take a little sneak peek of a drop of blood. But we need to just make really good choices. And a lot of the foods that are processed, the chemicals are getting stronger. So I really encourage people to try to avoid that as much as possible.
Oh, excellent. Anything you want to add, Carolyn?
Yes, the farming and the soil, we're working on that agricultural projects as well. It is very important for people to be able to have access to real food and to growing their own food. Even putting your hands in the soil is going to help your health with the soil-based bacteria. And what we learned from one of our formula consultants was that the herbs are in such bad shape now because there's so much demand for herbs, and there'll be a program on Dr. Oz and all of a sudden the stores will be sold out of a certain herb, and then the fly-by-night companies will come in with knockoffs, and there's no one that's really analyzing what exactly is in the herbs that are being sold. So it's very difficult to ensure that you're getting an organic product anymore unless you know your farmer or your herbalist or you grow your own. So more and more people are going to be doing that, and hopefully in the next few years, I mean, it's not going to be fast, but hopefully we'll get back with our Mighty Mash that has incredible success in growing live plants that will, help a person's health. So, yeah, we're all working in the same direction, and it's very important.
Yeah, the other thing to add to that, Carolyn, absolutely right. The water, the water sources. I think I encourage people to again look into their city water or in any municipality where they are. They are beginning in certain areas to add to. There's additional contaminants. I mean, they're trying to. They have to by law meet that 7.4 pH value, but there's nothing healthy about the water. Drinking tap water is not a healthy choice. So they need to make sure they stay in touch with their municipalities and voice their opinions and tell them it's not acceptable. Putting fluoride or excessive chlorine and all the other toxins that are in the water, not acceptable. So there are other alternatives. So I really encourage people to explore those options. Yeah, it's starting to take a toll, I'm afraid, on people.
Right. And yes, people often used to say, well, I'm just one person, I won't be heard. But I think there's so little public interaction now that they'll look at this one person as being like 10,000 people, not that many, but my point is that people aren't speaking up. So if a few of us start speaking up, we may be listened to. And yeah, it's our own fault if things are going awry, if we're not making some sort of protest or giving, some sort of input to the powers that be. Otherwise, they're just going to do what they do.
Well, exactly. And they've used that same philosophy with not only our water, but even look at the situation. I'm listening to so many great doctors that are focusing in on their target markets, whatever they may be, and the governments are ignoring them. So we do need to be more proactive. We need people to be to do their research. There's a ton of information. I do know it's completely overwhelming, but they still need to do their due diligence. And it's not an easy task. They really do need to. Well, I think they start with making sure that they are hydrated and that their nutritional values are where they need to be, so they have the stamina to take that stand and to know where to draw the line and say, this is affecting our children. It's affecting all of us, and it's not acceptable. So it is important to make a stand and to let the people who we have elected to speak for us, but they have to speak what we want for our lives. We are responsible for our bodies, and we need to nourish them adequately. So the government seems to be, all the governments, they're following their own agenda, not ours. And they need to be reminded that they're there because of us.
Right.
And I encourage people to be strong and be strong themselves and be strong for the sake of our children and our seniors. We really need to stand up and tell them how we want our municipalities to be run.
Right. And I've noticed myself when I'll write to, a senator or congressman, that you can send in your complaints or requests online. So it's easier than it used to be. You don't have to sit down and write a actual letter. You can send by emails, and they usually do respond in some form. So that's the way to start.
Oh, absolutely. I'm finding on many of the government sites, especially now that many people are staying home. So many of these types of applications can be found, and you can fill them out online, send them in, or fill them out, print them off. And what I'm finding is what we have done is have witnesses, have more people sign that or have an additional piece of paper and then mail it in, unless you can bring it right to the office and drop it off, whatever works in your community. But when you can add witnesses to your opinion and you're all agreeing, then the numbers start adding up, and they do start paying attention, and they really do need to do that.
Yep, I say all the time, Lorraine is quite the rabble rouser. I love it. That is why we ended up getting in Canada, because of her push and her determination to hold Health Canada accountable, because they're supposed to be making decisions for the benefit of the Canadians up there. And they were not making that beneficial decision by, taking their time and really keeping REMAG from getting where it needed to be in the middle of a pandemic, for crying out loud. So I think that's part of the issue is we are already seeing the consequences of ignoring warnings of health concerns in our country, both countries. And it's important to be aggressive in, first and foremost, taking care of yourself, and then also setting the stage for what we want to see, again, governments do on the behalf of the others who also need to be factored into these choices. I know it may not always be easy or fun or whatever, but it's important. And I think a lot of people have learned this year how important their voice really can be.
Right. And we have to remember that people in government know nothing. They know nothing about anything. They know how to be politicians, but they don't have a clue about health and or medicine or nutrition. So it's almost like or farming or all those layers. And when we approach them, often it's good to come from an educational point where you're just informing them of stuff they don't know. And maybe they're listening to lobbyists who just give them, their information that's so biased that it just it pushes the whole conversation in the direction of the commercialization of soil, foods, and our bodies. So yeah, we have to serve that purpose of educating these silly people.
These silly people. That's perfect.
They're so silly.
Well, with that, Lorraine, we've got, I just want to let anybody know, if you've got a question for Lorraine while she's on the line, go ahead and hit me up on YouTube or call into the show 646-558-8657, and then the access code 883-695-3587. It's and everybody's email and here on YouTube and on all of our chat line channels. And come on in and ask your question. Otherwise, we will let Lorraine go so she can get back to the very important thing that she wants to do, which is send out as much Remag as possible everywhere she can send it all over Canada. Right, Lorraine?
Absolutely. We have Rich back there packaging up, and we are all fired up, ready to go. So you can let our phones ring off the hook, and the email, the website's ready to go. And we're a little short staffed, but we will keep up. And they certainly, the lines are open. You bet.
Very good. So it's RNA reset, it's reset, RESET dot truehealthcanada.ca. And again, the absolutely delightful Lorraine Andrus, who's just such a wonderful resource. We're so glad you jumped on with us tonight. Good luck with the sale. I'm sure it's going to be fantastico. And as we get more products up there, we will announce it and let everybody know. And you can have everything you need, Canada. We're behind you 100%.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenny, and to Carolyn and everybody out there. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, love.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, love. Okay, Carolyn, we've got phone calls waiting. We should take some phone calls. Yes. And
Yes.
Yes. So again, if you're here on the line to talk to Carolyn, you've got to hit *9 on your keypad, *9. We'll raise your hand in the studio and we'll get you on the call in the order that you came in. And we're going to start with area code 248. So I've sent the unmute button to you, 248. Hit *6 and come on into the phone call. You're welcome. Dr. Dean, hello.
Hello.
Hello, 248.
Yes. Hi, this is Denise.
Oh, hey, Denise.
Hi. I was not going to hold you guys up, but just a quick question. I just started a low carbohydrate diet, and I started last week. And oh my gosh, I'm feeling weak and fatigue, and and I think maybe it's because that's a symptom, since I used to have all these high carb foods. And I wanted to let you know that I said, where's my Remite and potassium, and as soon as I felt all weak and woozy and really fatigued, I started to take that, and I felt so much better. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm feeling better. But I started your Realign. I started your vitamin D3, K2. I started your Pico Silver and your Flora Revive. And I'm getting ready to do your restructure tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
So I called your customer service to see if I wasn't overloading. Should I just wait and, do them like next week? I wasn't for sure, but I hope I'm not starting too much too soon. Am I doing the right thing?
Yes, all those, I think what you do, Denise, is look at them as being the foods that you're not going to get the nutrients from the foods you're eating. So these are the foods that your body really wants.
Okay.
And, it's kind of starving for them. And yes, when you have those symptoms, like Ginny, when you went off dairy, did you have symptoms?
Oh, Lord, yes. We could devote a half hour to that, Denise, but what I'll say is, what they say, Denise, is when you go low carb, they call it the quote unquote keto flu. Remember that, Carolyn?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
you start to detox off of those carbs, you feel run down and tired, and people even get kind of like a flu system and diarrhea and all kind of crazy mess.
And so feeling hot, or something like getting hot and stuff. And I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah. So you're right on track. And what we were so grateful for is that, like you just said, the magnesium makes you feel so much better right away. And you do cut out a lot of that. Your body needs to get recalibrated to all the goodness that you are going to give it. And the restructure is great for keto. Great.
Awesome. I'm glad you mentioned about the protein being too much, because I don't know if I was taking too much protein, or was it too much fat, or what was I doing, or because basically the only carbs I ate was a big bowl of green leafy vegetables, baby spinach, and cucumbers, cinnamon and apple cider vinegar on it, and then just the protein.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the fat is important as well. So be sure to get enough of that. It does not stimulate insulin, so it's the best thing to get you away from what insulin was doing and what the carbs were doing to throw things off. And there's also the addiction to carbs and sugars that feeds the yeast. So the keto flu can be a bit of a yeast die-off too. Have you read the yeast book yet, Denise?
Denise, your phone's back on mute. Hit *6 real quick.
Oh, okay. I
There
didn't
you
know
go.
that.
There you go.
Okay. No, I haven't read the yeast. I guess I should. But no, I have the Magnesium Miracle book, but I didn't read the yeast overgrowth. But I guess I need to read it. I guess I have never. I just felt funny. I said, "Oh my gosh, am I doing something wrong?"
Oh,
to
no.
feel fatigued like that.
Yeah, it's not something that you would have learned about, through your doctors. But like Ginny said, when you shift your diet like that, things are going to get, feeling out of whack. So you're going to be craving sugars perhaps and feeling woozy because your blood sugar might be getting low as your
It
body.
did. It did.
Right.
Definitely.
And as your body gets used to getting at your fat stores, that's going to be happening. And you could be going through yeast die-off. So there's a lot of potential there. So download the free yeast book. It's called, what's it? Reset the Yeast Connection, something like that. Ginny?
Yep. I'll put it on the chat line. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a whole learning, just as you're adding all the new formulas, your body's going through shifts. So you're the perfect example of a person, taking the formulas, getting rid of this symptom, that symptom, developing new symptoms. So, this is what people do with our customer service. But those brave enough to come on the phone like you're giving an education to everybody else who's listening.
Well, I'm excited. I know I'm going to do well. I have strictly your products, and that's what I'm sticking with.
Yeah. And your voice is stronger. If we went back and listened to your voice in the beginning, you're a whole new person.
Oh, yeah, I do feel much better,
Yeah. And what do your friends say? Are they getting mad at you because you're looking so good and feeling so good?
Well, unfortunately, I don't see them that much. Most of us have been quarantined, and then, we just basically go out to go do our, whatever we normally do, but we haven't really seen much of each other a lot.
Right. Well, they're going to be amazed when you spring forth in the spring.
Absolutely. I've already spoken those words out. Oh, wait till you see me, you guys.
That's great. Okay, my dear. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Anytime.
Okay, you guys be blessed now.
You too,
Yeah, same
Denise.
to you, Denise.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, very good. Area code 626-626. If you just hit that *6 on your phone, area code 626 will bring you in. Hello.
Hi, this is Rachel calling. And my question is, when, like I do, go couple of days without my magnesium, and then I get my palpitations, and it's usually late in the night. And then, of course, I panic and try to take a lot of magnesium, often right after each other. And then I notice that I urinate constantly. What is going on?
Yes, hi, Rachel. Well, magnesium, if you're taking a whole bunch at once, the body doesn't put it all in the cells. So it eliminates it either through the urine or through the bowels. It won't hold on to it. That's what makes it a very safe mineral. But yeah, your body, it's you got to look at the Remag as you would your food, and you're not going to eat something and then not eat for 2 days. You know, that's too stressful. So you really have to get on
My next question is, being that I had very high blood pressure, was 220 over 70, and I went to emergency room because I wasn't feeling well. And then they found out my heart was beating at 35, which it's beating a lot faster now, thank God. But everything I think of and everything they tell you is no salt, no salt, no salt. And then I hear you saying magnesium, you want to put your salt in your drink.
Right.
And then my next question is,
let me get to, hang on, because we haven't even addressed this business of you having a pulse of 35. Are you being worked up for a pacemaker?
Well, you talked to me about a pacemaker when I had called before, but it's gone up to 50 already. So, and I'm feeling great.
Okay.
You know, blood pressure's down.
And blood pressure's down because the bottom one is good. The top one implies, you know, the major stress and the muscle. I can't say. I mean, I can't give you a medical thing, but in terms of the sea salt, it just makes sense that we're not getting the minerals that we used to from our water. We're supposed to be getting water from springs that's filled with minerals, and we don't. We just get either distilled water or very much filtered water. So the sea salt, when you look at the amount of sodium we're supposed to be getting a day, a teaspoon of sea salt just barely covers what you should be getting. So it's not out of line.
If I'm taking quite a bit of minerals, can I not add that salt?
Well, in the minerals, if you're talking about our minerals, we don't have sodium in any of our minerals.
No, I'm talking about minerals I've already had on hand, and you know, money-wise, I need to use up what I have before I buy anything else.
But most minerals don't have sodium. I mean, they avoid it, just like you said. Everybody's against salt. So they're not going to have sodium, but you know, you'll do some reading. And what's the book about? Di Nicolantonio's book about salt, Jenny. You know, just educate yourself about the fact that we're just not getting basic minerals in our water or our food. And when we salt our food, that's just a sodium chloride, which is, you know, not great at all. And that's why I say sea salt, because there's 72 minerals.
And I am a person that has drank distilled water for years.
Right. So
I do that, but
so you've stripped yourself of minerals, and it's difficult to get the concept, you know, when medicine has been talking about how bad salt is. They just wanted to find the bad guys. Let me see. Yeah, it's called The Salt Fix. It's Dr. James D. Nicolantonio. He's a real magnesium advocate. And all of a sudden, he came out with this book talking about the importance of salt. And he does talk about sea salt.
What's his name again?
James D. I'll spell it out for you. It's a great name. D-I, capital Nicolantonio. Di Nicolantonio.
Okay.
But the salt fix will get you. You can Kindle it, and do your research. But I really would be concerned about your pulse rate, and I've already expressed that. So you're keeping track of that. Yep.
Yes. Next question is, I ordered your, I think it's a vitamin C cherry drink, the powder.
Yeah.
When I add that into my water, and of course I put the magnesium, everything else in there, the potassium. When I go to sip it, I have to shake it up because there's a lot of sediment on the bottom.
Right. The potassium potassium bicarb will drop to the bottom. Mm-hmm.
So that's the potassium, not the C drink.
No. It's white. If you notice, it's white. So that's going to be the potassium bicarb. There's 400 and something milligrams of the potassium in that potassium bicarb, which gives it the fizziness.
Okay. Yeah, and that would be really nice to have on the label because I didn't know it was going to fizz up like that. And so I had filled my glass container full, and then of course it fizzed up and went over. And
you think you have problems? I had mine in a bottle, closed bottle, drinking bottle on the airplane. And when I opened it up, I had a gusher. So, yeah, maybe we better label it. Okay.
Well, let me say, Rachel, that the reason why we don't and we can't is because if we allude to it being a drink, it makes it a food, and that puts it in a different category with the FDA. So we just have to understand. Yeah, we just say it's a fizzy fun, sparkling or something like that. We kind of use those words, but we can't go into the full deal, the FDA, so persnickety. And also I think, Carolyn, too, a little of the RNA reset powder might be at the bottom of that drink.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I don't use that. Oh, was that?
There's a little RNA reset powder in the berry powder to help with absorption. But yeah, I just keep a spoon handy and stir it up, or if you have it in a shaker bottle, you just shake it up. I mean, that's normal.
Yeah.
Well, I laugh because I have a friend that actually put the water in her mouth and then put it in her mouth and it started bubbling. And this lady, I love her to death, and she's going to listen to this replay. But I'm sorry, she's a real penny pincher, and it started bubbling up. She wasn't about to spit it up. She was gonna. I could just see her. She's hilarious, and she is asking, when she starts taking the magnesium, does the taste make the urine green? And I told her I didn't think so.
No, I haven't heard that one. Our realign with the B vitamins will turn the urine a bit yellow, but that's the only color change we've ever heard.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the questions I have. I just couldn't get over when I did extra magnesium because, I'm panicking because the palpitations are so hard that I couldn't even lay down. I mean, I'd come and lay down and it was get up and go urinate again. And it's just, what do you do? Do you have any suggestions to help me when that does happen, when the palpitations come on hard?
The thing of it is, if you don't take your Remag for a couple of days, then your electrolytes are out of balance, and it can lead to palpitations. So the solution is to be sure to take your 2 or 3 teaspoons of Remag every day and heal the heart. I mean, you might have heard my story. I had to take 4 teaspoons a day for a year and a half before I stopped getting any palpitations. If I skipped a dose or 2, I'd get a palpitation. After a year and a half, I was cutting back, and I'm just only taking a teaspoon right now, and I have no palpitations. So it's a matter of saturating, healing the heart, getting it all sorted out. It's not like you're going to take this amount of Remag or more Remag to treat your symptoms, you're going to get your heart back in balance. And
Well, I
then you
take a
need
tablespoon.
rest.
I've been taking a tablespoon for quite a while.
Uh-huh. And what
And
happens on the days when you don't take any, when you said sometimes
I
you don't?
can blow it and go 2 days, and then I'm usually in trouble. I'm starting to feel the
Right.
palpitations coming back, and I go, okay, you didn't take it for a couple of days. So then
Right. Okay,
then I
so
panic.
that's you doing an experiment. So you've experimented enough. Now you know what happens. So you just don't do that experiment anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm not experimenting. I just
No,
get
that's
busy
what
and
I'm saying it is. You're not taking it for 2 days and then you get
yeah,
the results. So don't do that anymore. That's
yeah,
all.
I'm trying my hardest not to do that.
Okay.
I just there was another question, but I forgot.
That's because I yelled at
No.
you.
Oh, no. Thank you so much for all you do, and thank you
You're
for this
welcome.
wonderful product that I got in the middle of the night. When I woke up one night, you were on my phone, and
Oh,
it was just the answer to my palpitations, because they had gotten worse and worse and worse.
right. And if you
I raised
remember that,
I
yeah,
raised
go.
my children, and then I raised my grandchildren, and one of
Oh,
them died at 10 years old from the hand of a dentist. So I've just been through
oh,
a little bit.
I see.
So
Yeah, I get it.
those
I get it.
those things get kind
Well,
of heavy, but
yeah, they're heavy on your heart. I mean, some women especially, they will have, heart symptoms because of stress. And, fortunately, Remag will help greatly with stress as well. So if you think of the last question that you had, just
oh,
email
I do.
us.
I just
Uh,
thought of it.
oh,
When
good.
I notice that I drink a lot of water or a lot of liquids, that I don't seem to need as much magnesium. Could that be true?
Uh, I don't see how. I mean, their
Okay,
hydration will help. The more
right.
you're hydrated, the more minerals you will pull into your cells. So, yeah, maybe more water will help utilize your minerals more. But, I don't think it's a solution to magnesium deficiency.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Oh,
All
you're
right.
welcome, Rachel. Thank
Thank
you.
you. God
Bye
bless. Bye
bye.
bye.
God bless.
Okay,
And
outstanding. With just a few minutes left to the top of the show here, we'll go to area code 203, Carolyn, and then we'll wrap up with some other comments and Instagram testimonials or what else we have. Does that sound good?
okay, let's do it.
Okay, area code 203, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could hit *6 and unmute your phone, area code 203. We'll bring you on to talk to our very own Dr. Dean. There you are. Hello, hello. Hello, 203. Okay, area code 203, you were unmuted. Come back in. *6. There you go. Okay, say your words. You must be on mute on your own microphone, 203, because the line is open for you.
Oh, that's what I did. Sorry about that. Okay, here I am. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Yes.
Okay,
Which,
good. All right, so this is Linda and Barb.
hi. Hi, girls.
Hi. I have a new question. I have this thing on my finger that kind of looks like a blister, but it's hard. And it's just hanging on there. I don't know what for a little while I was putting magnesium right on there, or like silver on a Band-Aid and put it on there, but it didn't seem to impact it. I was wondering if I almost wish I could just grab something and smash it or poke it and drain it, but I didn't know if any of the products would be useful in helping it disappear.
Where is it?
On my finger, middle finger joint on the outside.
Looks like a wart.
Is it like a wart? Yeah. Is it like a wart or is on the bone?
It's big.
Well, it's kind of big. I mean, it's on my skin.
On
It could be a wart, but I've never had a wart before.
Do you think it's a wart, Barb? Barb, does it look like a wart to you?
It's big.
Mhm.
It's yeah, it looks
like it's.
You know what?
It's
It's
filled
white,
with liquid.
white in the middle,
It looks like it's filled with liquid.
and it's big.
Yeah.
It's a big lump. It seems to be getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And we just moved to Georgia, so we don't have our Dr. Gail Whitman, our dermatologist in Connecticut.
You know what I do? Do you have any clay? Any powdered clay?
In my backyard. No. Where would I get that from? Where would I get that?
Health food stores will have a cosmetic clay, but what I'm going to say is to make a poultice of it and wrap it there. In the drugstores, actually, not that they have clay, but they have little plastic gloves that just fit over one finger.
Yes.
And so you could, mix up some powdered clay with pico silver and put that on the area, enough to cover it well, and maybe just put a little gauze around it, put on the plastic finger cover, and just wear that around, for 12 hours, take it off, wash it off, see how it looks, leave it air for a couple of hours, and then put it back on. And that clay will allow kind of an opening in the skin to drain something if there's something there, or just, start to heal it from below, from beneath.
Awesome. Never heard of that solution. Well, thank you very much. And last week I heard you talking to a woman who had anemia, I think from cancer, and my mother's got the same thing. And but you recommended silver, right? And our friend started taking just a tiny little bit of magnesium, a tiny little bit of silver, and immediately she bounced back with energy. She's unbelievable, Rose. And I mean, like one day she was totally bedridden, the next day she had lots of energy. But amazing, right? But she's hardly taking anything. So I was just wondering, are you still recommending like the silver? You think that would make a difference for the anemia with the minerals more? Anything else? Do you have any idea?
What it was with the pico silver for that person was to get at the bone marrow and the stem cell production, because she had, I don't know, I can't remember if it was radiation or something that sort of affected her bone marrow. So I just wanted to stimulate the stem cells. And then stem cells are like the basic cells, and then they'll go off to help if something is deficient. So they would go into the red blood cell line to help the anemia. It's not really an anemia treatment. It's more of a bone marrow stem cell approach.
Oh, I see. Okay. Got it. Yeah. All right. So no real recommendation they're saying it came from the immunotherapy treatment. That's why she has such severe anemia, and she's just exhausted all the time.
Well, with what you can do, we don't have an iron product, but if there is an iron deficiency anemia, and you'd have to make sure of that with blood tests, there are liquid irons that we do recommend. So you can email us at support@rnareset.com, and we'll recommend a liquid iron, because the iron pills, they're like 4% absorbed, and they cause terrible constipation, so they just don't work.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. I'm going to send an email right now. I really appreciate it. Thanks for everything that you do. All right.
Oh, you're welcome.
Love you. See ya.
Bye, Linda. Bye, Barb. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
calling.
Thank you.
Cool questions. Those girls ask every week. It's very
They
nice.
do. They
Yeah.
ask rocking questions. I agree 100% completely.
I
Okay.
think all their friends line up and say, "Hey, will you ask Carolyn this?" Somehow you can get to, Carolyn, ask this question. It's very cute.
Yeah, it's a co-op, a question co-op. Yes, but it's very fun and productive, and it helps all of our listeners. So we love that.
Yeah.
So that's
Yep.
great.
Mhm.
All right, my love, what shall we do next? Few minutes to the top of the show. I think we've gotten through all of our callers here. What else
Mhm.
would we like to chitty chat about?
Nobody on chat. I have a couple of testimonials, but if there's no one on chat, I'll go to them.
Luna did type in and say, I received my atomizer bottle, the ones, Carolyn, that we talk about with the little floofing up your nose.
Yeah.
And she said she's really pleased with the fine spray that it produces. She's going to start using it with her Pico Silver. So I thought that was great. Diana Orlando's definitely listening. She said, it's always, love the program, always a learning experience. Maria asked if we've done any research in regard to blood types and COVID. I didn't think we had. So what do you think about that?
Well, remember what you said to me earlier today about the blood type A's just seem to be susceptible to a lot of things. And I remember hearing that either about viruses, I don't know about COVID, that O's seem to be more viral resistant. But it really doesn't mean a thing, because you can be an O in bad health or you can be an A in great health. And so that shifts everything. It's a matter of your cells, not your blood type. So you get your cells healthy and you can resist anything.
Okay, very good. Anita typed into the chat line, does the barley powder affect insulin resistance?
Well, the barley powder, because of its life force potential and ability to make perfect cells and everything, I would imagine it would lower insulin resistance. It would, benefit a person. That's what I would say, but we certainly haven't done studies to that effect.
Right. Way back in the day, I think we even tried to call it insulinos or something because we said it was a blood sugar balancer. Remember that, Carolyn?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Good for you. You have such a great memory.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the answer is no, it's really not an issue. And, the more I learn about barley in general and just the power of the beta glucans that are in it and other aspects of what barley does, I don't know. Even just finding out that there's such a thing in England called barley water, where people just want to drink barley water. So, I mean, it's very, very beneficial in a lot of ways. And then, of course, there's the homeopathic life force thing, as Carolyn said. So I think you're safe with that in that regard. And then New Earth Television said 1 week dairy free so far. Didn't realize how dairy was in so many of my go-to foods. Haven't had any real withdrawal, only so far dreaming about ice cream. So that was very good. Patrick's down in Miami. He said that he and his wife traveled down there, mask-free probably, down in Florida, hanging out with the hooligans. But he definitely was able to get his bottles down there with no leaks by putting aluminum foil in all the tops of it. So he was very excited about that.
What do you mean? What's that? You put a foil and then twist the cap on top of the foil?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Yep. So he said, I wanted to share a good tip. When I was packing yesterday, I took a piece of aluminum foil and put it across the top of the bottle under the lid, wrapped it around, and then reapplied the cap. Guess what? No leaks. Yay. My bottle survived the flight. So that's good news. Yeah,
that's
very
awesome.
good. So there's our new travel bottle. Thanks to Patrick. That'll save us a lot of packaging and design problems. Very good.
Oh, I know when I've traveled, I used to put, all kinds of different types of diapers on my bottles. It's was just terrible.
Yeah. We just break down and buy travel bottles and transfer the liquid. But
Mhm.
so everybody's hippie, happy, pleased about Canada. And let me just remind again, it's reset.truehealthcanada.ca. Tell your friends. You can get your remag up there with the appropriate international label and the French Canadian and the proper Health Canada number and all the other things and all the other good stuff. And also, let me say about that, if you missed any of the information on tonight's show and you have questions about any of it, email support, SUPPORT at rnareset.com, and they'll get right back to you if following up. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, a couple minutes for a testimonial then, Ginny.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, someone is saying, very happy with the Magnesium Miracle. I get a good night's sleep now. Even if I get up once during the night, I have no problem going back to sleep. My blood pressure also is in the normal range. Of course, I eat a healthy diet and exercise. Thank you, Dr. Dean. So that's very sweet. Hello, RNA Reset. First, I want to report that since I started Dr. Dean's products a year and a half ago, I've gone off all my medications, such as a diuretic, lisinopril, and Falcalin, which is an ADD medication. It was my goal from the beginning to get off, and I'm beyond thrilled to only be taking vitamins. I also want to give a shout out to your customer service, the best I have ever worked with. Yes, let's spend the last couple of minutes eulogizing customer service, those sweet people. So how many people do we have in customer service now, Ginny?
We have 9 or 10, maybe 12. Full-time, part-time. It's a lot. It's a lot. Well, you know what we can talk about is we can welcome Chase Lane, who's our actual new customer service manager, who will be working with Lisa. Lisa has escalated to new heights in her customer service career. She's going to be doing customer affairs, which is consumer affairs, which is really a great way of saying watching out for every single consumer as far as compliance and on all of our content and making sure we're saying everything the right way. So we've got all kinds of fun stuff going in customer service, but we've still got Julie and Megan and Doug and Megan and Lisa and all the greats, the standard, the core of our customer service team is there all the time, as they always have been. And they love what they're doing, and they're doing a great job.
Now, is Doug our only male type customer service person still?
Well, Chase.
Yep.
He has come on board, but yes, Doug is holding down that end of the stick for sure.
And one of our Megans went into more the professional line customer service, right?
Yes. She's working over on the pro side a little bit, but she's still bopping back and forth. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah. Jennifer, I forgot to mention Jennifer.
Right, Jennifer. Gosh. Right. Yes, I know Jennifer. And just to let you folks know, I mean, it's when you're running an organization like this, it's a lot of people and it's a lot of work, and it's also a lot of fun. All our people take the products. So when you talk to them, they may share their experiences, but you can be assured that they know enough about the products from their own usage. So it makes it, really a good experience. And that's why people are always saying that our customer service is, quote, the best I have ever worked with.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, this day and age when you can't even get a human on the phone anymore, right?
Yeah, much let alone a human who's just like you, who knows what you're going through, has been there, done that, and rehabilitated themselves in a lot of cases, or learned a lot and continued to accelerate their health. So Very good. Well, with that, we will give a bit of fondue. We've run out of time. Carolyn, once again, thank you for everything. You're the very, very best. The very best.
As are you, Ginny. Thank you. And thank you, Rachel on the board and Debbie for allowing us on your wonderful station, and our listeners and everybody.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show. For questions about today's broadcast, email Dr. Dean at question@drcarolyndeanlive.com. That's question@drcarolyndeanlive.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.